Hi everyone, it's Ben from Trekitt and I'm out here with Harry at Langatic Escarpment today, and in today's inside look video we're giving you a little bit of an inside look into the Rab Infinity jacket that I'm wearing here. Over the course of this video we'll give you a full rundown of its features, its fit, what we really think it's designed for and why we think this jacket is so great. So stay tuned over the course of this video to find out a little bit more about it. So first and foremost, what is the Rab Infinity jacket? Well, the Infinity from Rab, you may have seen it before because Rab had a previous version of this. But this one has been updated with a few key feature differences from the original. Rab primarily designed this as a jacket to be used by mountaineers, alpinists, just people that are getting out into particularly cold and sort of challenging environments, or if you just need something that is really rather warm that you want to use as more of sort of a belay piece. So this jacket is quite heavily insulated. Not a heavy jacket because it still uses down, but it is heavy in terms of the insulation used. So it's a really toasty warm jacket that's then combined with a Gore Infinium membrane fabric, which then keeps all but the worst of the weather out. So you can really use this thing in most conditions. What's it made from? Well, we'll start with the insulation on the inside because that's really the meat and potatoes of a jacket like this. You want to start with the insulation because that's the important bit. That's why you'd buy a jacket like this. I will break it down a little bit more because it is a little bit of a mouthful. But Rab have chosen to use 250 grams of 800 fill power RDS European goose down that has been hydrophobically treated. And then that's all put into a box wool construction that can really maximise the down's ability to loft and keep you extra warm in a jacket like this. So to break that down a little bit further, you've got 250 grams of that down that's been used, so that's spread out over the entirety of the jacket. That's the total amount of down that's used in it. And then you've got the 800 fill power, which refers to just how lofty and fluffy the down is. And 800 fill is a really high quality fill power down that means that you get a really, really warm jacket without a lot of extra bulk. The fact that it's RDS means that it has been sourced from responsible farms where the geese, European geese usually, have been found to live in nice conditions. So they haven't been mistreated, they haven't been live plucked or anything like that. So you can ensure that this down that's in this jacket has been sourced responsibly and those animals have been treated well. That down has then been hydrophobically treated by Nikwax, or a special Nikwax treatment that then keeps all of the individual down fibres much more water repellent than they would be without any sort of treatment, which means that this jacket, even if it does get wet, will last up much longer than an untreated jacket. That box wool construction is where things start to get really interesting because Rab have been quite clever with the way they've constructed it. Box wool constructed jackets will have a box construction, so the down can fully loft up and it doesn't taper down with the baffles at the end, so it's got full ability to loft up and it's less likely to introduce cold spots. But Rab have gone beyond that by offsetting the construction of those baffles in the box wool style so that you can effectively get an overlay of baffles over the top of each other. And then they use an interstitch on where they stitch these through together between the separate baffles that is almost like a line of roof tiles. So you've got that overlap. So thanks to gravity, water will naturally shed off this jacket and is much less likely to find its way into the stitch lines, which is usually a common entry point for water entering a jacket. So the fact that gravity is going to force everything down and you've effectively got sort of shingles of insulation over the top, it will roll down and then fall off the bottom hem of the jacket without entering in. Even if it does, thanks to the clever stitching that Rab have used, they've got a little loop on the back of the stitching that then effectively creates a channel that then the water will be less likely to find its way in. So surrounding all of that lovely insulation in that box wool construction, Rab have chosen to use two different weights of Gore Infinium membrane face fabrics. So that comes in two different weights. You've got 30 denier reinforced areas and then 13 denier fabric that's a little bit lighter, a little bit softer handle to it, and is going to be a little bit less durable, but it's in areas where you don't necessarily need that durability. Quite easy to see on this jacket because you've got two different tones. I might have to move a little bit. But this is the 13 denier in the slightly brighter blue, and then the rest of the fabric is in this sort of ripstop 30 denier, which is a little bit more durable. So if you are using this when you're climbing, scrambling, belaying, anything like that, where you might brush up against rock or anything more abrasive, you've got that extra protection from that stiffer face fabric. So Gore Infinium is not quite the same as regular Gore-Tex. A lot of people will see the name Gore-Tex and immediately think completely waterproof, because that's what Gore-Tex is really known for. But Gore-Tex do a few different membranes, and Infinium is basically a rebrand of Windstopper. So it is a completely windproof and highly water resistant membrane rather than fully waterproof. But in practice, a jacket like this, you'd have to be doing pretty well, or you're out in some really horrid conditions. It's really blowing a hoolie out there for you to get wet in a jacket like this. This is really designed to be as protective as it needs to be in the sort of conditions, but it is not fully waterproof. To further help with the overall weather protection on this jacket, Rab have chosen to use a DWR coating on the outer of this jacket, which is a chemical treatment that will help repel water. So it's a durable water repellent coating. That again helps keep this jacket a little bit more protective to the environment, but that is something that you will have to wash back in over the course of its life because it will wear out. Then on the inside of the jacket, Rab have used a 20 denier recycled nylon, so it's really nice soft handle to it and it's really comfortable next to skin. But on a day like today, or just in general, you're probably going to be wearing a few more layers, but it still leaves that nice inside fabric really soft and comfortable to the touch. So moving on to the features of the Infinity jacket, we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down just so that I can keep track of things. So at the very top, you've obviously got the hood, which is a down insulated helmet compatible hood, which is great for when you're going to be climbing in the jacket, scrambling, anything like that. But it is also then head compatible thanks to the adjustment that you've got. So you've got a wire peak on the front, so you can adjust that in nice and easy. And then you have a draw cord on the back of the hood, so you can cinch it in around your crown a little bit easier. And then you've got two hidden adjusters in the collar, so you can really cinch it down to really close it in around your face. So if you are wearing a set of goggles, anything like that, you can cinch it in really nice and tight to feel very protected. Moving down, you then have a YKK Vislon two-way front zip. That two-way zip makes it much more usable for wearing with a harness, anything like that, or if you need to answer the call of nature. And it's just a really nice feature to have on sort of a mountaineering focused jacket. You get YKK zipped hand pockets and one chest pocket as well. They're really useful for storing maps, compasses, things like that in. They might not be quite map compatible. You should just about get one in, but on the inside of the jacket for extra storage, you get two elasticated dump pockets, which if you need to store a map, that's probably where you'd be best suited to doing them. You have articulated sleeves. So the sleeves have nice amounts of movement in them. The way that Rab have panelled these means that they have a slight curve to them, which means that they're just a little bit better for movement in, or if you are climbing or reaching up above your head, the jacket doesn't raise up as much as it otherwise might would. And then at the end of these cuffs, you have Velcro to adjust the cuff itself, which means it can seal nicely around a pair of gloves like I've done today, and it's also really easy to adjust the volume on. These sleeves are a little bit longer than they might be on some other jackets because Rab are expecting you to be using this in a climbing environment where you're going to be reaching up over your head, so they've got slight extra panelling in. That also works for me because I am a little bit taller, so I've got longer arms. The only other feature to mention comes down to the adjustment on the bottom hem, where you have two adjusters, one on either side, that are elasticated, so you can cinch in the bottom of the jacket to fit it around other items, sort of other layers that you've got on, and just to seal a little bit more of that warmth. There is a stuff sack, thank you Harry. There's a stuff sack in one of the pockets, so you can stuff this jacket away when you're not using it, keep it in your pack. That's why I keep Harry around, he's useful. Reminds me of little features. So how does it fit? When it comes down to fit, I do have to mention my personal dimensions as well. So I'm 6'3" and got a roughly 43 if we're being specific, inch chest. And I've got a size large on today, which is a size I'd normally wear. This particular jacket from Rab is in their relaxed fit block. So there is more room in this than you would expect in some of their other jackets. So today I haven't got quite as much on underneath as maybe Rab intends, but it's not so roomy that it feels sort of flappy in the wind or anything like that, and I'm not losing too much body heat because the fit isn't as good. The fit of this is very good for what it's intended for, but on a day like today I've got a couple of base layers and sort of a mid-layer fleece on, and realistically you might be wearing something slightly thicker than I've got on there, so it allows for that space. And this is the sort of jacket that you're probably going to be throwing on over absolutely everything else when you're belaying or in very cold environments where you really need that insulation. So this sort of more relaxed fit from Rab really does work well. If you're going to be wearing it in conditions where you're potentially not going to be out in the mountains with it, or if you're just hill walking, something like that, you might need to adjust the sizing a little bit, but it can be worth trying one on just to make sure. But usually sticking with your average size and just expect it to be a little bit more roomy than some others, and you can't go too far wrong. As I mentioned, when it comes to layering, this thing is really designed as your outer layer. And with that Gore Infinium membrane to the fabric, you can really use this in pretty much all conditions unless it's in a very torrential downpour. So you're probably going to be grabbing this when you stop, a little bit more of sort of a stop-go piece rather than sort of a piece you're going to be using when you're being a little bit more active, but you throw it on over everything else and you'll feel nice and secure and nice and warm in it. So that about wraps up the Rab Infinity jacket. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, to shop our full range of size and colours, Harry will pop a link somewhere on the screen here. I'm just going to point somewhere, it's probably going to be the wrong place, but it will be up on the screen somewhere for you. If you have any questions or any comments, we always appreciate them down below. And if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, it would be really appreciated. I think that's about all from me. We will see you in the next one. Take care.